Before we start this video, do like and subscribe to our channel and not miss on any updates.
Hello dear CFA aspirants, ethics is one of the very important chapters in CFA. Both in level 1 and level 2 it has a very good weightage, right? And professional standards and code of ethics is what is covered primarily in level 1 and level 2. Now today we are going to be discussing about guidance for one specific standard. I'll not be covering all the standards because this is a demo video. We'll be restricting ourselves to one specific standard, and in that standard I will explain to you what is the actual guidelines, or what does the standard say, bare text of the standard say, and what are the various interpretations, what are the various case scenarios that are involved in that. And of course there are substandards in it also, all that is involved, right? So that is what we are going to cover in today's demo session, right? So please do subscribe to our channel, please do stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Insta and YouTube, so that you can be aware of all the latest updates that we give out to our CFA level 1 as well as level 2 students. Okay, so what are we waiting for? Let's go and watch the demo. Let us look at the next chapter. This is demonstrate application of code of ethics and standards of professional conduct to situation involving issues of professional integrity. Recommend practice and procedures involved, procedures designed to prevent violation of code of ethics and standards of professional conduct. Identify conduct that conforms to code of ethics, code and standards, and conduct that violates the code and standards. So code is different, standards is different, please be aware. The standards of practice handbook, they're explaining about what is the handbook, where you can get and all of that. Please note this, 15 to 20% of your exam questions will be based on this book and short learning module concerning JIPs. Given that much of the material must be simply memorized, I suggest your final reading of the standards of practice be on Friday prior to your exam. See how well they've said. You probably do not have to need all examples that day, but if you highlighted some points during an earlier reading, you can revisit those as you go through the standards. In our summary of standards, we focus on 3 things. So, in the standard summary, what is it they're focusing on? Actions that clearly violate the section, behavior that it is intended to either encourage or discourage, and recommended best practices. So, you will look at these 3 things. In many cases, the actions that members and candidates must take are explained using terms open to interpretation, such as reasonable, adequate and token. Some examples of from the standards themselves are use reasonable care and judgment, accept any gift that reasonably could be expected to compromise. So, they use those words which are very subjective. The requirement of the LOS is that you know what constitutes a violation, not that you draw a distinction between what is reasonable and what is not in given situation. So, you know what is violation. We are not here in a judgment, that is what is reasonable, what is not reasonable. We believe exam writers take this into account, and if they intend, for example, to test whether the recommendation has been given without reasonable care and judgment, it will be clear that either the care and judgment exhibited by the analyst does not rise to the level of reasonable. So, they themselves will define what is reasonable, so you don't bother about it in exam hall. No monetary value for token gift is given in standards. So, when you say token gift, it means something which is not so worthy. It is worth basically something not really meaningful from a monetary perspective. Although it is recommended that a firm establish monetary value for employees, again the correct answer to a question will likely hinge on candidate's determination of what is token. Question should be clear in this regard. A business dinner is likely a token gift, but a week at condominium in Aspen or tickets to Super Bowl are not. Always look for clues in the questions that lead you to question writer's preferred choice, such as lavish and luxury. Right? When they use such words, you know it is not token. Now, how do you, for the exam, it is not necessary to memorize the stand number and subsection. Knowing that an action violates, for example, professionalism rather than duties to employers should be sufficient. So, you need not know which section, which subclause you have violated, rather you should know what has been violated. So, whether it is professionalism, whether it is duties to clients, duties to employers, what has been violated. That is how most of the question will be. One way to write questions for this material is to offer a reason that might make one believe a standard does not apply in a particular situation. In most, if not all cases, reason does not change the requirement of standard. If you are prohibited from some action, the motivations for action or other circumstances do not matter. Standard says it's a violation, it's a violation. An exception is when intent is key, such as intending to misleading clients or market participants in general. Okay, so we'll keep that aside. Now let us come to the first standard, because they basically said how you should look at these questions, how cases are going to be structured. Okay, let us look at the first one. What is the first one? Professionalism, and in that it is knowledge of law, 1A. You must, and we discussed about this just a short while ago, we must understand, comply with all laws. Whatever is the tighter you have to follow. If local laws are lighter than this code of CFA Institute, code of ethics and standards, you should follow CFA Institute, and you should follow always the stricter one. And you cannot participate in anything knowingly or unknowingly. If moment you come to know, you should, unknowingly, if you cannot participate in anything knowingly. If you come to know that something has happened unknown to you, you must move away from it and then take suitable legal action. Don't violate any laws, rules or regulations that apply to professional activities. This includes the codes and standards. So any violation of the code will also violate this subsection. So see, if you violate the code, because what are they saying? Don't violate any laws, rules or regulations. So violation of the code of ethics is also a violation of standard of professionalism or knowledge of law. A member may be governed by different regulations. The country in which member resides, country where doing business, follow the more stricter one. We already discussed. Then, if you know that violation is taking place by co-workers or clients, institute strongly encourages them to report. One way is to approach your supervisor or compliance department. If they will not or they cannot, to remedy the situation, if they don't change, you go to your boss or compliance department, they say, take it, don't be so serious about it, then you must disassociate, that is not working for the group, is not allocating trades, or if there is something going wrong. If this cannot be accomplished, you may have to resign. So institute says, first complain. If you believe complaint does not have an impact, move away. And if you think something illegal is going on, then you even resign. Okay, that is what they are saying. What are the recommendations for members? Establish or encourage employers to procedures to keep employees informed of changes in rules and laws. So everybody should be aware. Review or encourage employers to review the firm's written procedures on regular basis. Encourage employer to maintain copies of current laws, rules and regulations. When in doubt about legality, consult supervisor, compliance person or lawyer. When dissociating from violations, keep records documenting the violations. Encourage employer to bring an end to the violations. There is no requirement in the standard to report wrongdoers, but local law may require it. Members are strongly encouraged to report violation. So CFA Institute Professionalism Knowledge of Law does not say you have to report. They only encourage you. You may have to report under some other law, not the CFA Institute rules and regulations. What are the recommendations for firms? Have a code of ethics. Provide employees with information on laws, rules and regulations governing the professional activities. Have procedures for reporting suspected violations. So firms should have a code of ethics, provide with information and procedures for reporting violations. Okay, this is the first one. Now we'll solve some questions, but let us finish a couple of more standards and then go to questions. Members and candidates must use reasonable care and judgment, which is basically on independence and objectivity, to achieve and maintain independence and objectivity in their professional activities. They must not offer, solicit gifts, compensation that could be expected to compromise their own or others' independence. They may face pressure or inducements to give a rating and all of that. They should ensure that they withstand that pressure and don't do things which are not correct. Normal business entertainment is permitted. Members who accept, solicit or offer things of value that could be expected to influence the member objectivity are violating the standards. Gifts from clients are considered less likely to compromise in independence and objectivity than gifts from other parties. If a client gives you a gift, it may not compromise you. But if some other party gives the gift, then it may compromise you. Client's gifts must be disclosed to the employer prior to acceptance if possible, but after acceptance if not possible. So you should always disclose everything, any client gift to your employer. Members may prepare reports paid for by the subject firm if compensation is flat rate and not tied to conclusion of the report. And if the fact that the research is issuer paid is disclosed, accepting compensation that is dependent on the conclusions, recommendations, the market impact of the report and failure to disclose is issuer paid or violations of the standard. So I come to you and say that, let's say I am a company called ICICI Bank. I come to you as a, you are a working in a rating agency or you are working in equity research firm, sell side. I come and tell you, see, you come out with a report on me, buy report, saying that, I'm doing very well, my financials are very good and all of that. I will ensure that I will give you a housing loan at lower rate. Right? This is a very, very clear violation. You cannot have, compensation tied to outcome. If ICICI Bank comes and says, see, please write a report, I will give you $1,000. Whether you write a buy report, sell report, hold report, neutral report, maintain report, whatever you want to call, I don't care. But you write a report for me for $1,000. That is fair. And in the report also you should mention very clearly, I am recommending ICICI Bank, they have given me $1,000. That is what is the expectation from you as a CFA Institute member. Recommendation for members. Members or firms should pay for their own travel to company events or tours when practicable and limit use of corporate aircraft to trips for which commercial travel is not an alternative. So when you're going to visit companies, visit potential companies that you're covering, or where there is where you are going to work for you're working on behalf of somebody and doing work on somebody else, right? There you should limit usage of corporate benefits or anything that they may give. Recommendations for firms: restrict employee participation in IPOs and private placements, require pre-approval for participation, appoint a compliance officer having written policies on independence and objectivity, and limit gifts other than from clients or token items only. So when I was in equity research, right, I used to work for BNP, as well as that before that I used to work for a firm called Thomas Weisel. So when I was in Thomas Weisel, I was barred from investing in any IPOs. I was working for a US company covering US securities, but I was disbarred from, or rather I was not allowed to invest in any Indian IPOs. That's how strict they were. Then appointing compliance officer. Firm should always appoint compliance officer. So any time I wanted to buy a security in BNP, I had to go and approach the compliance officer, only then I had to buy it. Without doing that, I couldn't, without informing them and getting their approval, I couldn't buy. You limit gifts other than from clients to token items only. So sometimes companies used to send us some small gifts, some car, some small, some small stuff like, small pen set, or, some paperweight or things like that. So all those are normal. But small bag, hardly 500 rupees, 1000 rupees, that something in that range. So such kind of things are okay. But other than that, from companies whom we are covering, you are not allowed to accept any gifts. Right. So we have now looked at two things: professionalism, which is knowledge of law, and independence and objectivity. Now let us go and look at the next one. Let us look at the next standard, which is misrepresentation, part of same professionalism. Members and candidates must not knowingly make any misrepresentations related to investment analysis. So you should not misrepresent it. It includes knowingly misleading investors, omitting relevant information, presenting selective data to mislead investors, and plagiarism. I hope you know what is plagiarism: copying somebody's without giving credit. Right, creating the source is not required when using projections, statistics, and tables from recognized financial statistical reporting service. So if you're taking some data from Bloomberg or FactSet or Thomson Reuters, you need not give credit. But if you look at any of the reports, in fact, I used to give credit even for that as well. When using models developed or research done by other members of the firm, it is permitted to omit the names of those who are no longer with the firm, as long as the member does not represent work previously done by others as his alone. So if your firm, somebody else has done a work, you may mention it, but if somebody has left the organization, you can remove their names. Actions that would violate the standard include presenting third-party research as your own without attributing the source, guaranteeing a specific return on securities that do not have an explicit guarantee, selecting a valuation service because it puts highest value on untraded security holdings. So here what they mean is, I'll tell you about now N2, right? So only an FD has an explicit guarantee of return. There are no guaranteed investment products in stock market. Some LIC guaranteed return and all they will say, but that is not part of this. Any portfolio, investment, anything, there is no guarantee for any return. It is only, there are always risks and there are rewards. There are cases where people select valuation services because they give higher value to untraded securities. So when you have a portfolio which has, say, traded, untraded, instead of you valuing it on your own, you ask some valuation expert or a CA or somebody to value, because that person will give good value for unlisted holdings. That is not correct. Selecting a performance benchmark that is not comparable to investment strategy. So you are investing in small caps and you show the performance comparison against Nifty. That is not correct. You should compare it against Nifty small cap index. Presenting data or attribution analysis that omits accounts or relevant variables. So you cannot present data by cherry picking or choosing what is good, ignoring what is bad. That is not the way. Offering false or misleading information about the analysis or firm's capabilities, expertise, or experience. So you cannot oversell your firm's capabilities. Then using marketing materials from third party that are misleading. So you cannot take an outside advisors materials and say that no, it is not my material, it is their material, they have violated the law. No. If you are using it, you have also violated this particular standard. What are the recommendations for members? Prepare a summary of experience, qualification, services a member is able to perform. Encourage employees to develop procedures for verifying marketing materials provided by third parties. Cite the source of any summaries of materials provided by others. Keep copies of all reports, articles, or other materials used in preparation of research. Provide a list in writing of the firm's available services and qualifications. Periodically review documents and communications of members for any misrepresentation of employees or firm qualifications and capabilities. Right. So you should. These are the things that they suggest for members. Then standard misconduct. Members and candidates must not engage in any professional conduct involving dishonesty, fraud or deceit or commit any act that reflects adversely on their professional reputation. See, please note the difference between misrepresentation and misconduct. Misrepresentation is with respect to saying something which is not there as showcasing something which is not there as existing, or wrongly claiming credit and all of that. Whereas misconduct is dishonesty, fraud or deceit or commit any act that reflects adversely on reputation, integrity or competence. Okay, first part here regarding is clear, no dishonesty, fraud or deceit. Second is it applies to conduct by members, specifically requires that act reflects adversely on their professional reputation, integrity or competence. The guidance states in fact that members must not try to use enforcement of the standard against each other to settle personal score, political or other disputes that are not related to professional ethics or competence. So in fact this is something that very, very clear about. That is, you cannot say that somebody has done something, some other misconduct, and use that as an excuse to file a case with the CFA institute and settle your personal scores. The members must not try to use enforcement of the standard against another member to settle personal scores. You should not try and use this. What are the recommendations for the firms? Develop and adopt a code of ethics and make clear that unethical behavior will not be tolerated. Give employees a list of potential violations and sanctions, including dismissal. Check references of potential employees. So you should do all these three. Ensure that there is no misrepresentation or misconduct that is done by either you or your members who are working with you or the firm as such. So friends, I hope you have had a basic understanding of how we teach ethics in our classes. You would have seen how we have covered specific professional standard. Now, is this what we do? No, we also cover some more MCQs. We do a revision and all that for our students as well. So we have multiple things, not just a live class, but we also provide the Kaplan Schweizer original books, and along with that also we provide revision to our students who enroll for revision classes. Okay, so please keep watching and stay subscribed to our channel so that you can watch more demo videos and get more updates on CFA level 1 as well as level 2. All the very best.